It's time to stand up for yourself, but your strategy might need some adjusting. We've got the Vengeance, Overcoming Slights, and a Choice, and it's in reverse. And we also have Dumah, the Angel of Dreams, and also the Angel of Egypt. And I was reading the book on this card on the Vengeance, and the upright meaning, like just the picture it was painting, was giving me that scene where the hobbits meet Aragorn for the first time uh, in the pub. You know, and he's like brooding masculinely with his pipe. But it's giving me that kind of vibe. It was a bit darker, you know, being the vengeance and whatnot. But in the reverse, that's standing up for yourself. Um, and the impression I'm getting, maybe you're being cast in a light that you're being vengeful or something like that, when the reality is you're just standing up for yourself. And Duma, I leaned further into the Angel of Egypt meaning because I set out to do this reading based on looking at things through the lens of a principality, the angel, that angel ranking. In the Christian angelic hierarchy, the lowest rank closest to humanity, it's principalities, angels, and archangels. And their scope of concern is like a nation, a country, a large group of people. I thought that was a good follow up to that, like, Emperor v. Emperor reading. So, let's see. What do we need to know about this conflict? So that dice roll, it flipped back to Leo this time. So we went Leo, Aquarius, Leo, so we're still in that tug of war with sister signs. And I also got the 6th house and Mercury on that dice roll. And Mercury was interesting because it just went, what is that? Quincux, 150 degrees, with Pluto in Aquarius and the moon in Aquarius. So again, that frustrating, obligated to be locked into this conflict, obligated to be interacting. And we have the 8 of Cups, so it's about leaving. Jabba Maya? These are Kabbalistic angels. So leaving, and normally it would be like leaving because resources have dried up. There's just no more there. The river has gone. This is a very busy card. Kind of getting, maybe you're standing up to multiple people. Kind of, they're clamoring all over Jabba Maya. So trying to get away from this stifling, suffocating, whatever is going on. And I mean, there's a lot of, what word am I looking for? Theological context when it comes to Egypt. Because Dumah, I think it's in the Quran, from what I was seeing, refused to pass judgment on the Egyptian gods, and that is what caused them to become fallen. But I'm not necessarily getting that somebody has refused judgment, maybe initially, but I think we might be past that point, potentially. Yeah, 10 of Swords. Okay. Haziel. Uranus in Taurus, which now it's in Gemini. So something from the recent past. And there's a bunch of arrows in them. And there's also that light emanating from the top in this card too. I mean, a lot of angelic imagery. But it's like salvation through strife. Maybe that's representing the innocent party. So I'm referring that to you because it feels like the other side of the table feels a bit more antagonistic, but it could be either way because we like to think of ourselves as the protagonist. As that clock chimes right there. So 10 of Swords. It's like knowing better days are coming, even though this is really difficult, painful, betrayal. Could be the type of inward journey that helps you reestablish or reinvigorate faith, strengthen it more, and even doesn't even need to necessarily be in the unseen, and could be secular still, but believing in the self, the ability to keep going through really difficult stuff. And Dumah refusing to judge the Egyptian gods, that's like standing your ground, refusing to yield despite it's like the whole crowd's trying to convince you to turn back on what you've said, but no, it's the truth. And Rebecca Nurse from the Salem witch trials just came to mind. And that's one of my unverified family rumors that we're related to her. But she ended up meeting her demise, if you will, through those trials because she refused to confess to something she wasn't doing, which was witchcraft. She was very pious and very well known for being pious in the community for, what were they, Puritans? And she was known for, like, adhering to the church. But she still was convicted and put to death. But it's like refusing to bend the knee despite the pressure. Oh, that was quick. Knight of Swords. Veulaya? Don't know if I'm pronouncing that one right. Rough imagery. Holding up looks like a severed lion head with horns, but their horse isn't doing so well either down there at the bottom, so a pretty vicious battle. But ultimately victorious, like warrior angel. It's interesting. So refusing to yield to this narrative that, I don't know, or petty, difficult, stubborn, to like a stickler, something like that. Like, why can't you just let me abuse you? Some sort of, like, it wouldn't be said that way, but it's like people taking issue with you standing up for the right thing. Maybe you're Dumah in this scenario. Or maybe that's what Dumah, or whomever the principality of concern here is seeing all this pressure and a refusal to yield. So what? Tell me more about that, because I kind of want to narrow that in. Is that what's being seen, or what's being seen by the principality? No, that doesn't feel like the right question. What's this tug of war about the quincux? Because the moon is the emotional body. Pluto is drastic change. Deep. Because it's in retrograde right now. So deep truths coming to the surface. And got an interesting visual when I was meditating. It was kind of obscure, the background of it, but it looked like a file. Like kind of like a computer file, but also kind of like a physical file. But the label on it is what was clear. It said list / corrupt. And almost like that, like corrupt was a property of the list. So like a list of corrupt people or something. But it's like a discrepancy between physical file and a digital file. This would be like the accountant, like what was her name? Skylar in Breaking Bad. When she figured out that they were like cooking the books or whatever, and she's like, I cannot participate in this. Like, this is absolutely not. Oh, the runaway. Secrets running from problems. Interesting. And a cage, that's actually a sign of Dumah, according to the book, A Golden Cage. There's a key up there too. But maybe that's more of that narrative trying to scapegoat you. Like, say trying to think of what the excuse might be for Skylar. Like, for an accountant in that situation. Like, oh, they don't want to do their job. They're just lazy. They're something or other. Manufacturing some sort of narrative that they're running away from their problems. I don't know. They're slinging them back every night after work, and which is really not happening. What they're trying to discredit the truth teller, but there's a refusal to bend to that. So what about that? What about this runaway? Maybe. There's a song coming up. It's trying to emerge from the depths. But I ran so far away. Flock of seagulls? Is that right? It was a while ago. Oh, the Tower and 5 of Swords. Wow, what a conflict. Because imagine that playing out in real life. Like, finding out the accountant was trying to do the right thing the whole time, and say, like, the entire business went against them. Like, this is wrath that will follow. And that was very much like the synchronicities that I was getting regarding the Egyptian. So when I set out to find, like, ambient music to meditate to, there's my usual channels and whatnot. And then the first recommended video was an Egyptian one. It was Amet, the soul eater, from the weighing of the hearts. If the heart weighs more than a feather, she consumes the heart and the soul goes through second death into total oblivion. And then the recommended shorts under that were like Sekhmet and Kali. So there's really destructive energy coming through. And just the impression I'm getting, because this cage is like overgrown. So there's been time, a lot of time has passed. There was time to do the right thing. Nobody made that choice. It's kind of like being aghast at how many people were involved and no one made the right choice. Just completely tried to double down and scapegoat an innocent person. And I don't see the consequences of that as karma necessarily, because we have a very Western interpretation of karma. Gets very transactional, like you did something bad, now something bad's gonna happen to you. Not quite how I think of it. But it's like you never know who's watching. You never know who is around, who somebody might pray to, might be devoted to. There's also a vibe of like, just give a trigger warning for this example. If a woman was running through the park or something, like a jogger, and somebody came up with obviously like nefarious intentions, like grabbed her or whatever, not realizing like Frank Castle was sitting on the bench right there, like the Punisher. It's the reason I'm using him as an example and not Daredevil. It's just that much more, we're not messing around, like, not that I don't think Daredevil would, but it's just more brutal, more relentless. Absolutely no negotiating. There will be no mercy. We saw what you did when you thought you weren't being watched. And that's what you're going to answer to. Part of the lesson is consequences. That's part of accountability. That flipped over right on consequences. 3 of Wands. Hamia? I mean, that's a journey card. But the 3 faces? Looks like there might be actually more than one angel there. But it's like you can't escape the gaze, or they can't escape the gaze. It's pride. Can't escape. There's nowhere to hide. But her eyes are so haunting. It's those like icy blue to the red background. That's the triangle up top. That's fire. That's the alchemical symbol for fire. But love, understanding, and will. And love doesn't always mean passivity. It means addressing the problem. Like, that is the most loving thing that can be done, is to not... It's like wrathful compassion. It's not only to bring a halt to whomever is getting harmed. I was saying this 10 of Swords picture. But to prevent it from happening again. It's like, this is not a conversation we want to have again with any of yous. So, what's this file about? What's this, like, list corrupt? Because I don't know if that's literal or what that represents. Because I vaguely remember in the last reading mentioning something like forged documents. Like you signing something and then a document that you didn't actually sign ending up, I don't know, in the filing cabinet or whatever. So what's this list / corrupt? about. That could just be a discrepancy of character. Like, the narrative about you that was painted is obviously not true. That's a discrepancy. So what about this list? Oop, got two. Oh, what a combo. The Poet and the Brawler. I just saw, what was that clip from? Sherlock Holmes? They do like the Matrix style, like filming. Is boxing. Poet is relationships and vulnerability, and the Brawler is lack of empathy and confrontation. Lex Talionis. I haven't gotten to that section in Duolingo yet for Latin. A wordsmith? Like, they're fighting words, but I'm not necessarily getting that people are actually squaring up. If you can solve it with words, that's preferable. At least that's how I think. People don't always give you that option, though. See, the Poet and the Brawler, this would be more like the Daredevil archetype. Just the Brawler would be like Frank Castle. I don't quite understand how this fits into the list. List/corrupt. Poet, Brawler. Maybe this is like poetic justice? Like whomever is the Frank Castle archetype in this that's bringing wrath, it will have like a finesse to it, something like that. Because that's, in the last reading, I got the Emperor v Emperor, and it kind of felt like there was another, like the Aquarian was the third energy, so it's the aggressor, the victim, and then, I don't know, the knight, if you will. 5 of Pentacles. Yeyazel. And King of Swords. Vasaraya. But that's in reverse. And King of Swords in reverse is a tough energy, very antagonistic. Man, and that expression too, she's got that icy, those icy eyes, looking at the apple, like, admiration, want, kind of a combination of the two, and I can't quite read any of the Latin in the background. But in all the moon phases too, it's more time. This has been going on for a really long time. And I kind of get the impression that that will influence how hard the knight hits. Like, they're not going to be pulling any punches when it comes to bringing this to an end. So maybe, well, the other card. I don't know if the actual intent was to, like, right as the car horn beeps, was to destitute you in some way, like the 5 of Pentacles. Or that just would be the outcome of what they're doing and they don't care. But King of Swords in reverse, that's very calculating. It's like, that's the vengeance. Trying to... Because you, the accountant... I know I'm skipping around a lot of examples, but it's a large scope. You, the accountant, who is like, you're obviously cooking the books, like, I'm not putting my name on this. I'm not only not putting my name on this, I'm going to report you, which, shut up. Don't reveal, don't be the James Bond villain. Don't reveal the strategy. It might be to let the knight handle things. Like, maybe the report has been made and we're kind of waiting to see what the knight does. That's a whole bunch. I'm just going to take the bottom one. Queen of Pentacles, Elamaya, and that was in reverse. An interesting, busy picture. I'm kind of getting, this is like one foot in front of the other. Because these seem like kids clamoring after their mom. But in reverse, it's like so taxing. It's taken an, as the clock chimes, it's taken an extreme toll to one foot in front of the other. Because let's say the accountant in this example did reveal their strategy. Now there's going to be heat on them, and it's all that like triangulation, this list of corrupt people. It's like, do anything at all costs to win this war, to prevent somebody from doing the right thing, just because they don't want to face the consequences of their choices at their big age. And I'm of the thinking that, tough. Like, you made your choices, and it wasn't this type of scope, scale, whatnot. Wouldn't be for need. And maybe it even started that way, but it's become greed. Like what happened in Breaking Bad, where he was buying like Beamers or whatever, and he was like, well, you have to maintain a certain image for clientele or whatever. Yeah, obviously not being used for survival, but being used for want. And wants that can be lived without. So, what do we need to know about the accountant's strategy going forward? Like, what's the recommendation for that? Might just be sitting in the crowd, just watching what happens. The forgotten. Missed opportunities, fear of failure. And last time I had this deck out, this card shuffled out, reminds me of the Animatrix, when that mousy kid saved himself without a Morpheus. I'm almost getting like a, just focus on you, on what you need to take care of. Because I feel like, especially if, of course, if you're raising kids and you've got just regular life stuff to do, that's got to be prioritized over all this nonsense, which is easier said than done. Because in this context, it's impacting your livelihood. And we can say, like, oh, ignore the bullies all you want, whatnot. What about this? What are victims supposed to do in the guilty until proven innocent, regardless of what anybody says, when you try to do the right thing. It's like the Doge whistleblower. I just saw an article about that. It's like 5 days after he filed a federal whistleblower complaint, his brakes got cut. Didn't even wait a full week. Like, do you think we don't know the correlation there? Like, the boldness, the audacity. And whatever form of safety, even if it's just mental safety and shielding yourself from this kind of, like, vile toxicity, adults who would act like this rather than just, yes, I made my choices, they were bad, I'll go ahead and take my accountability, which probably would have lowered the consequences, but through all this time that they've had, they didn't do that. So now it's like, okay, you know, all those things that say to the fullest extent of the law, we gonna find out. You effed around, this is the find out part. So maybe you're just watching people find out. It's like, save yourself, the tower's coming down, wherever that was. Get out the way. Because you don't want to do anything that might create some sort of perception that feeds into this narrative, which is not fair. It's not fair to be walking around in chains like that, having them control your life. But it's like temporary pain for long-term freedom. Because they're not giving you a choice. It's like, well, what else are you supposed to do? Queen of Cups. Jeez, how do you say this? Hahaya? The Hierophant. Mahasaya. And in reverse. Strength. Yeo. And the Fool. Leilahel. These pronunciations. So Queen of Cups, Hierophant in reverse, Strength and the Fool. And the bowls down there at the bottom, that's reminding me of both Temperance and the Star card. So healing, alchemy, and maybe maintaining yourself, focusing on you outside of, using the phrase the drama feels like I'm downplaying it, but that's not my intention. But just this whole busyness, the hive, the groupthink, staying away from that has given you the opportunity to alchemize, like these Ten of Swords, the betrayals, the holy crap, you're not even close to the person I thought you were. Like, it's a type of person that will not once be honest about who they really are and then chastise you for, like, oh, you didn't see that? You didn't see through my sophisticated mask of deliberate deception? Like the type of mask that somebody would have a whole second life, like a whole second family, and you don't discover that until after they're passing. I've heard those crazy stories on Reddit or whatever. But that's what's bringing, like, the wrathful Hierophant out. This is the Hierophant that is done. We are finding the clauses from the 1800s that nobody's updated. We're using those too. Like, we're bringing in centurion justice to this. And I might even fare a bet that I'd say even if you wanted to take it easy on these people, we're past that. We are past that point. It's out of your control. Best thing to do is to take care of yourself. Because the sense I'm getting is it's been a very long battle. Yeah, because these go Venus in Cancer, Venus in Aries, so that's a long cycle, reading them like that. But leading to a new beginning. The Fool. And that's like a child angel. Very childlike, very innocent. Start into the unknown. Knowing everything's going to be okay. It's very chaotic, too, up there at the top. It's kind of like leaving all that behind. And coming from a very difficult... It looks like another warrior angel. It's got that, like, Sparta helmet for the strength card. And the same, like, busyness at the top, too. Getting away from all the noise. Moving to the countryside. That sounds nice. Where it's quiet. Less light pollution. Actually focus. Concentrate. Be at peace. And this is kind of giving me, like... If you had a house with... What are those called? Like a widow's wharf, that upper balcony. I've always thought those are pretty cool, like the top level balconies that they'd be attached to like the master bedroom or something. See, I like the idea of apartments just because I don't have to pay for the appliances, for if the wiring goes out, like stuff like that, all the really expensive upkeep. But if I were to get a house, I want something like that with like that upper perch just to enjoy. Very cat-like, very up and away from everything. And maybe that's not possible with what you're dealing with right now, but maybe that vibe, see what you can do to create that in with what you're working with right now. I don't know how long this could take to materialize or change, whatnot. And it's really frustrating to be going through something this difficult and not have an end date, not have really any idea of what this knight is going to do. So maybe that's part of the strategy, is the trust part. Because what an impossible ask after going through something like this, to trust somebody, to trust another person. But you're kind of put in that position when you get into like legal battles and things like that, because you're turning over the outcome of your life, like the course of your life, to somebody you've never met, somebody who, yeah, they say they're qualified, but were they honest on their resume? Like, and D's get degrees. Nobody's saying necessarily that the person you encounter to deal with this was at the top of their class. Not that that's like the defining factor, but I think you get where I'm going with that. It's just like being traumatized and then having to trust somebody in a similar role, and people not being able to conceptualize how triggering that is, how much of an ask that is. It's like, what is a good analogy for this? I don't know. Just those trust issues. Like, the sense I get is that, like, I cannot believe you are asking me to trust you right now. Like, after all I have been through, all you've seen me go through, and you want me to trust you? Oh my god, get away from me. Like, in order for me to trust you, you need to leave me alone. Because, like, I cannot tolerate you. And it's very much like if somebody is asking you to trust them after something like this, actions, not words. Show it. Because that's like dropping somebody in shark-infested waters. Like, trust me, you're gonna be fine, just swim. Like, I can see the sharks. But big energy. Uncomfortable. And maybe you're typically more of a go-getter, more like hands-on with stuff, so trusting somebody's gonna be tough. And from the sounds of it, sounds like there isn't a lot of good track records on people actually doing what they say they were gonna do, that they're reliable. But I don't know if you're being given another option, and maybe that would be your own karma, not a... It's not anything actually related to this situation that's thrusting it upon you. It's... There are deep wounds around trust, and so deep that you're being put in a position where the only way forward is to trust. And I'm getting the sense it's not to test you. It's because trust has been broken so many times. The only way to show you that there are still trustworthy people in this world is for you to be in a position where that's the only option to go forward. It's not fair. It's not fun. Because you should have been able to trust people before. But we are where we are on our path. Difficult lessons. That's a lot of shadow work. And valid that you would need time to yourself. Oh, that's a good one. Howl's Moving Castle. Some Studio Ghibli. Some nice, wholesome entertainment. Maybe stay away from the Punisher, the the more violent stuff like that. Something that's a little more hope core. Something like that. And there's so many good ones from Studio Ghibli. I haven't seen this in a long time. So maybe go with the advice I often give. A good meal, whether home cooked or if you've had a terrible week and you just need fried rice and some egg rolls, do that too. Whatever brings the stress level down so that can recenter and reprioritize yourself. So overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates, and if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.